At Rosedale's special budget meeting, there are a lot of considerations on the table. The general formula for a budget is assessment times mill rate equals annual budgeted income. So because the assessment is a number that is fixed until the next reassessment, the two numbers that council can work with are the mill rate and the total budget. On top of that, there is a separate mill rate for the school tax, which council has no control over, and the opportunity for special services levies. These levies, which would have to be set by bylaw and not just in the budget, would be for items that are either specific to one area of the municipality or because the general mill rate can result in higher assessed properties paying more than their fair share of services like snow removal or fire services. To be clear, this is not the public hearing for the Rosedale budget. That public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, May 6th at 10 a.m. This public meeting is for the councillors and the Reeve to look at the numbers that they have received from outside sources and the preliminary budget numbers from the CAO and determine what their priorities will be for the next year. Council wants to make sure that ratepayers know what the actual money is being spent on, and not just put all their focus on the assessment, which is done by a third party, and the mill rate, which will determine each individual's property tax owing for 2025. Some items discussed for 2025 are bridge repair, gravel crushing, waste disposal, and capital projects, including potentially a new fire truck.
The special meeting of council convenes at 10:03 with the Reeve Carlson as chair. Do I have a mover? Scott. Seconder?
I'll second.
Dave Turk. All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the special meeting of council agenda of March 25th, 2025 be approved as presented. Do I have a mover?
Sure.
Ron Carlson, should. Earl Burton seconds. All in favor? Carried. Alrighty.
How do you want to handle this today, brief? Like, are we asking questions or are we just letting the CEO present everything?
I guess we should have all our talks on the table and then ask questions for this. So if you want to present.
So I just want everybody to go to your first attachment and then go to page 8.
So
It'll look like this.
budget one, that is what
Yeah,
we're doing?
budget 1.
Okay. And then page 8.
Yeah. So this page drives all the levy information. So all the assessed values are placed in there, the school tax levies are placed in there, all the grants in lieu, hay and grazing, and then everything is calculated to what we need to levy to cover all of the expenses that we're going to incur over the next year. So the school tax mill rate has been reduced from last year because the assessed value went up. So they're not having to levy as much because their assessment is higher. And then the LUD of Kelwood hasn't submitted their budget yet, so I just left their previous mill rate in there. Once they submit, that'll be calculated based on page 7, I believe, of the budget. The White Mud Watershed, all the levies have been submitted, so those are the amounts that White Mud Watershed, Assiniboine, and Intermountain are going to levy us. We will gather and then submit payment to them. The bylaws and special service levies are the same as last year because none of the bylaws have expired. The deficit recovery section, we got approval from the minister to recover the budget or the deficit over a 2-year period. So I just put half of the deficit here, and the recovery mill rate is 0.963 to put that back into surplus. The reserve funds, I left them as the same as last year, so you guys can adjust as you see fit. I just duplicated duplicated what was put in there last year, so the mill rates will be the same or similar, because our assessed value also went up in our area. And then the final is the general and rural mill rates, where they shake out with the current budget entries. Does that all make sense to everyone? Oh shit, I guess I skipped over the debenture. So the debenture payment is in here as well for recovery. Those payments are per parcel from folks that actually got water. So that amount is the same every year. We submit to the government because there's a loan on that upgrade to the RM water system. Does anyone have any questions on this page? It's just all based on calculated assessed value versus what we need to make ends meet.
When are you anticipating getting the Kelvin budget?
I would assume shortly. I would assume they're gonna align pretty much with the same as last year.
Yeah.
So the mill rate for Kelwood only applies to Kelwood residents in that area. So Kelwood residents would pay that mill rate plus the at-large mill rate. That's for 3.360. And then everybody else in the RM will pay the rural at-large, and then we'll pay the rural area and the at-large. So that's the only differentiating factor between those folks, or those mill rates, sorry.
So according to those figures, then the mill rate has decreased from last year,
For,
or at large?
yeah,
It was 4.263 or something like that.
3.360 last year. Sorry, I was changing everything this morning, so the mill rate's changed since yesterday. I lost my page. Last year was 3.360, this year's 3.538. And last year rural was 9.655, and this year 10.188.
So we're up a bit,
Yeah, so less than 1 mil.
and it's an assessment year too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the mill rates for the reserves are all less because our assessment is up. The deficit recovery last year was only 0.241, and this year it's almost a full mill rate. And I'm assuming Kelwood will be right around that 9.6 again. Their budget's pretty stable with the expenses that they have year over year. And then they also have some surplus funds, so I know they want to do a project. They had put that forward to council in one of the meeting minutes. So we'll just take that out of the surplus funds, so it won't affect their mill rate. It'll remain stable.
Any other questions on this?
On that page or on the?
On the page.
On the page.
I don't know if you guys want to go through page by page, so if you just to understand what each page means, I guess maybe would be,
So then if we want to do any extra projects or something, then we have to add to the mill.
yes. It depends what projects you want to do. So if you want to add to CapEx, then we would add it in, and then it can, because everything in these 14 pages is connected. So if I change one spreadsheet, it updates all the other places. So I can update it, and then we'll know the mill rate right away. So if you wanted, say, to add $100,000 to CapEx, then it will auto-calculate and let me know what that mill rate is going to be. It's set up. The formula, a majority of them were set up, but I've added additional ones also. So this morning I was adding a road rehab in, that I didn't have previously, so I added 100,000 in, and of course the mill rate jumped up.
So those other assessment sheets that were, you already got previous, they're already on the budget then, added in?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all the levies, so Neepawa Area Planning sends us a levy, it's the actual levy value is in here. No slush, no nothing, just the levy that we're gonna be spending. Assessment sends us a levy for their services, so that value's in here. Anything that I had a hard value for, that I knew that was the payment, it's the exact value in the budget. So White Mud Watershed, for example, they send us the information, that's what we pay, so that's the number that we're levying against. Tried to make it, now that I understand, this is my second budget year, it's makes much more sense. Last year, I think I spent almost 2 months pulling the budget together. This year, it took a week. So, which was a very focused week. There was some scrambling taking place, but it was, I understand where the numbers come from and what's driving the variables, I guess, in the budget this year much better. Still a lot to learn.
Your, so the revenue base off the tax, so you already know what the assessment value is, that's been increased?
Yes.
Okay.
What happens is on MMO, they give us all those assessed values. So I get all these documents and I have to pull all of the values off of here. So they'll tell me the school division, like ESL, the provincial school division assessment. They'll tell me the Turtle River, the Beautiful Plains, all of that. And then I just pull the values out. They tell me the grant in lieu values. So then I populate page 9 with all of that information, so then we can see what the government's going to be giving us for grants in lieu. So all of that is pulled out of all of these crazy numbers that the MMO folks provide on the website. So we download all of that information and plug it, and then all mill rates are based on that. I guess the school division.
My assessed value, my assessed value is up 10% from the year before, from 2024 to 2025. This is my own personal thing, but I'm not saying everybody's gonna be the same. It could go up or down, some property went up, some went down, but overall it's 10%.
But it reflects on that number, right? Basically, right?
Yeah, because if you look at the page 8 from last year, our assessment was 125 for the general, and now I think it's 139. 130. Yeah, 139.
139, yeah.
They're just short of
Yeah.
4,000.
So yeah, you're a little bit better than 10% there.
The one thing that I've always had a bit of a pet peeve with financial planning like this is that we focus too much on the assessment and the mill rate, because the mill rate's the balancing entry. The assessment is the third party. What matters is how much money we're spending, actual money, because that's what the ratepayers have to make good on. And then the mill rate smooths it out based on classes, but it also, the assessment branch makes sure that people that have, and technically because it's a progressive tax rate, people that have the ability to pay more than their share, and people that don't pay less. And that's where the special services levies are supposed to flatten that out. And I noticed that a lot of places, a lot of RMs and towns in Manitoba are slowly switching over to the services levy, because the higher end properties are paying too much. We don't have a flat tax and a base in Manitoba, making it a big problem. But over-reliance on special service levies is just an unfair regressive tax. So I don't know if that's an issue here or not. It doesn't seem like it.
Well, our special service levies are specific to the areas. So say the Eden Ring, for example, you can see the assessed value, there's 25 or 27, sort of, this is last year.
Yeah, that's option.
If we go to Eden Rink, so these assessed values in the column, what is that column?
Eden Rink.
Oh, you guys can't see the
Taxable.
column. Yeah, because I PDF'd it, sorry. In the first column, right beside Eden Ring, Riding Mountain, Kelwood, and
Yeah.
Gurney. So the one is a levy based on property value, but the rest of them are all based on parcel. So if you are using the Riding Mountain Hall and you're in this assessed area, you're gonna get charged per parcel to utilize that.
things like fire protective services. A lot of places are making those the services levy as opposed to part of the tax. And they're also, Westlake Gladstone is now switched so that their snow removal is a per parcel. It's a service levy as opposed to part of the overall tax. And that way, every individual house up in the RM pays the same no matter how what the assessed value is in your house. And some people are finding that a more fair way to break some stuff out. Some people are finding that at a certain point you break the progressive tax structure and turn it into a regressive tax structure. And then you start driving out low-income people that you're making it unfair. But I know that around us, a lot of people are breaking out some of these things and making them service levies, not tax.
Ultimately, it's the same. It's all based on a mill rate or a parcel. So it would come in this, so if you go to actually page 1.
I'll just say,
Oh, go ahead.
it's actually, it's not the same, because if your place is assessed at $1 million or 100,000, you pay, if your place is assessed at $1 million, you're paying a greater share of the expenses of the RM, but if it's a service levy, everybody's paying the equal share.
I'm just saying it's based on revenue and expense. So I would still put the expense in the same way I would put the expense in for every service levy, and then we would get our revenue, and then we figure out how we're gonna tax people, depending on how the money is gathered. So are we thinking we're wanting to change the structure and create some bylaws to say, let's use snow removal, for example, and put it as a service levy? Or are we happy with having it at large, everybody is paying for snow removal because we're removing it from all the rural roads and all the towns?
I think that's the easier way to do it. We have been doing these special levies. I know there's a couple that will be coming up this fall that we have to deal with again, so there'll be some pushback on one, I can tell you that already.
Yeah, I think one expires in 2026.
2 of them actually expire in 2025. If I remember right. The right
Oh,
amount, the right amount one
2025
end.
is Bernie.
And I think the check right amount might be 2, not sure. Pretty close.
Oh, I had to enter the expiries on that. I think there's only one that's expiring.
I know what the Bernie is for sure.
For 2025,
Yeah,
yeah.
so you sort of,
Yeah, it was
short
a 5-year one.
Yeah.
Bernie, what does Bernie charge, $40?
45. Yeah. And the right
That's so cheap.
right amount is 55. Yeah.
Because unless things have drastically changed there, they were asking for a shorter term because they were trying to get out of a bump.
Yeah.
And the COVID caused them a bump in the road, so.
Anyways, that's
Yeah.
for later on.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the transportation services section, so 1.4 million,
Yep.
and last year we budgeted 1.1, spent 886. Are you off the top of your head? Can you tell me why it's so much bigger this year?
Last year we didn't do any crushing, so this year that's a $400,000 bump just
Part
for
of
the
it.
crushing alone. And then last year we didn't have to buy gravel also, so we're gonna be purchasing 20,000 yards from RDK or Cossacks to crush. So those are in addition to last year. So last year there was no gravel crushing, there was only spreading. So this number would include wages and such, as well as equipment repair for the grader, for the tractor, for everything would be in that 800,000. And that's our actual. So we understand what we had thought we were going to. I believe we had budgeted 315 last year for gravel, and we only spent 227 because the only gravel that we purchased last year was from Eden Pit, and then just the spreading annually for the year. There was no gravel purchase whatsoever. That'll be the biggest chunk of it.
And then on that same page, I just want to make sure, transfers, there's the deficit recovery for page 9, that's at 0.
Yep. Because it's not a transfer from surplus, we're taxing to recover it. So then it doesn't go there.
And then there was, I'm sorry, but on page, I think, sorry, page, I'm not sure what page I'm on, the next page, there's a green highlight for conditional grants, federal government.
Last year I had put a value in there, and I don't think that there was supposed to be a value in there, but just because I didn't understand. So the total grants in lieu should come from page 8. It's on page 1. It's 91,301 is what the calc was. And then this must have been another grant that was being received. I don't think it's a grant in lieu. So last year we double dipped. We put the revenue in 2 times, just because I was assuming that was grant in lieu, but it's supposed to be in the revenue section here, not in the revenue section there. That was probably some other grant that you guys got that was named Gil, just like the Grow grant we just got. I'm assuming you got it a couple years back and it was just placeholding in there.
Okay.
And then for the condition, so we have unconditional grants, so municipal operating is unconditional. The government provides that information. And the information that they've provided is that they're gonna give us 205,517. That number is the exact number that they provided to us. And then the conditional grants further on down on that same page from provincial government, that includes the Grow grant that we just were advised that we're getting, so the $90,000. And then that is gas tax. So it's 8470, 747 or something like that is what we're expecting for gas tax for this year.
On that Grow fund, do you have to buy the asset?
Yes.
Get it all in your name and then get reimbursed?
I'm assuming so. And it's a 50-50, so we spend half, they reimburse the half up to the 90,000. So if we spend 160, they'll give us 80.
Is there a, no, I'm sorry, that was a stupid question.
We have 3 years to spend that grant as well.
Don't tell them that.
I would rarely get it done sooner than that.
Well, a lot of people apply for that grant to do capital, like a building or a structure or something, so they'll need the time to do the engineering drawings and all that sort of stuff. That's why everybody's getting the, no, we'll try to get it in and out in 2025 here.
Great. And the 2,500 for EMO?
Yeah,
What is-
currently we didn't spend any money last year on EMO. We did have Mr. What the heck is his name? The old fire chief guy.
Day, right? Oh, whatever.
We have a guy that is our EMO person. He hasn't submitted any hours to be paid for, but he's supposed to be doing our emergency response, like our tabletops and all that sort of stuff. So I think the agreement was that they would earn $20 an hour for whatever work they're doing for us. And then we should be going to some training as well. We're providing some sort of training for him to keep him current.
And then on page 3, under unallocated costs, there's a few yellow highlights. Is that to be filled in later, or is that just?
No, that's just me keeping track of where I'm going. There won't be anything in there. Last year I moved some of the buckets around because things were on page 3 that I wanted on page 4 or vice versa. So I had moved them to where I thought they made more sense.
And then for materials, last year 227, this year 620. So that's the crushing and everything
That's the
again.
crushing,
Thrown in there.
yeah. So that's the crushing, the spreading, and the purchasing of the gravel. That's just bridge repair, not specifically bridge planks, but
Okay.
I'm assuming we're gonna do something with the bridges, cause somebody's ran into one of our bridges, so I know that one for sure needs to be repaired. And I know there's planks that need to be replaced up by the Bernie Bridge as well. So I have a placeholder there, so we couldn't assess the bridge that got hit,
Yeah,
cause
that's
there
on
was
your
too much
order.
snow.
Yeah.
But I know there's gonna need to be some repair done up there, so that's why I have the.
And that's separate from the Pier 1 plan with their numbers.
And then I guess the mower, if you look at the mower bucket includes the tractor to pull the mower also, because we don't have a specific GL just for the tractor. So of course the tractor cost about $30,000 last year. It cost us to repair all the things that happened. So that's why the budget for this year is reduced down from what we actually spent last year too. I'm assuming we can just do repair and maintenance and such, like, we've done a lot of work on the mower flatbed as well as the tractor in the last 2 years. So I'm assuming we're gonna get back to more maintenance mode.
And the municipal wells for $39.50. Does that include like upgrading everything so it's all like the same costs, and like you were saying you were gonna revisit the pricing structure?
Well, part of that is because our wells keep getting broken into and we've already spent more than $1,000 fixing the well. So I'm not quite sure what additional items. We changed a switch at Elk Ranch, and then we changed the whole box at Spring Hill. And then last year we got broken into at Elk Ranch as well. So there's just funds in there for the upkeep
Yeah,
of
keep
those.
them.
So that's not like a significant upgrade, that's just a keeping it on top of the bed.
Yeah.
I think there's numerous GLs in there. Just 1 second, let me take a look here. I have a little cheater sheet. I don't know if it came through on my PDF though now. So each one of these buckets generally has 3 or 4 GLs in it. So I have a separate spreadsheet where I enter all the individual values for the GL and then calculate them back. There will be an area for well hydro, because we're paying hydro on all of those wells.
Right.
So each one of those wells will have an individual value assigned to it, but then the total will be entered into the budget. I don't have access to the actual system. I don't have the same information that you guys have right now, but I have a bunch of, in the budget on the side, there's all kinds of GLs that are entered and then explanations on what each bucket holds.
The liquid waste disposal, like, why is it a round number that,
It's 11
Matches.
we pay monthly.
so it really is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then even like the social assistance, it really is that. Every year that's what we pay. And there was another value on here. I saw the planning and zoning, so that's what we pay to NAPD.
Right.
They send the levy and that's what we're actually gonna pay.
So with the health thing though, we've never heard what our share of the hospital is.
No. I don't understand that.
Neither do I, because apparently Nippon knows and so does North Cypress, Langford know.
I've heard that before.
I haven't talked to the boys to find out if it's true enough, but I've heard that they've got their numbers
How
already.
are they going to decide how much each municipality pays?
I don't know, Robert, I can't figure that out.
And the size of the catchment area is gonna be a heck of a lot bigger than what's servicing the Nepo Hospital right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
But we can also budget that for the years after, because you would have up to 3 years to contribute, is what I understand.
Well, it used to be that if you had your money up front, you saved,
Oh,
how much was it, Ron, do you remember? 10 or 20%, you had your money there when they asked for it. They reduced it I don't know, Carl, why we haven't heard, but maybe you leave a sleeping dog tonight.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, let's not poke the bear.
Maybe they forgot about us.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get back to it.
Yeah.
I had reached out a year ago and they said we weren't going to be getting a levy. So I'm assuming that's what's happening.
What did you say?
I had reached out to the gentleman that was in charge last year, and he said there was not gonna be a bill coming to us. I thought he had said that there was in-kind contribution that was being provided by the town of Neepawa. And I think he told me at that time Neepawa and North Cyprus weren't gonna get any payment either. So I'll have to follow up, I'll have to find his contact again, I guess, and follow up with him, or
I
just leave it alone.
I would say
Somebody
that
send
alone.
the
Leave it
bill.
alone. Yeah.
You got lots to do.
Yeah.
I
I'm like poke the bear.
This isn't trying to get away from your snow removal bill. They're gonna remember.
Oh no, they're gonna forget about us.
So we got a budget for it.
I'm assuming it's based on population,
I would think so.
because they're not gonna say Neepawa and VR and Rosedale are paying the same value. It'll be paid, it'll be
Per capita or
prorated.
something,
per capita.
I think leaving the budget where it is good, because we're not increasing your mill a bunch. And because being in unprecedented times these years, we don't know what's coming down the pipeline, right?
I don't find the numbers bad at all, to tell you the truth.
You like Carl? You like?
Yeah.
The veterinary services went up by 2,000, and that's a direct bill.
The veterinarian service levy is $62.40, and the 2,000 is because they sent us that letter asking us to put 2,000 away for the wastewater. So that's why I added it on there. Because I don't really know how, budget-wise, to put it in a savings account for them. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna have to come out of this budget and come out of next year's budget, and, or I'm not sure if they want us to provide it to them and they're gonna keep it and then put it towards. Ernie would know better because he's on that board.
Yeah, that's work in progress, I think, that one anyway, but if you have something allocated, at least it's there, and if we
Yeah.
don't, well, then it's passed over to another year, right? So
Yeah.
you're not short all of a sudden, so, good one, I like it.
And then under recreation and cultural services, so,
Those are all hydro bills and water bills if they have water. So, Riding Mountain, of course, doesn't have water, so that'll be majority hydro bills. But Eden Skating Rink, we pay their water bill and their hydro bill, so that's what that is for. And then Coors Lake, it's just a permit that we get from the government that we pay on an annual basis.
and then the Kelwood skating rink for $50,000, is that still spending the grant money?
There is grant money available. Last year I budgeted 0 and we had, of course, money spent against it, just because I didn't realize. So this year I wanted to at least have some sort of placeholder in there. We did just get an invoice for the Kelwood skating rink because I think a majority of the finishing is done in there. And then I've got a contact with the site as well to get the occupancy permit. So hopefully we can get that project closed and done and people utilizing the facility. We have an ISIP grant still available for funding.
That was awarded, you mean? Or it's
That we
available
already
to apply
have,
for?
that we already have, yeah.
So it's not, I realize we're doing the roundabout, but I want to make sure that the grant still covers what we're spending,
Yes,
but not utilities, like the grant doesn't cover utilities.
no, and that's all. So last year operating utilities for the Kelwood skating rink was 56,30,39. It's in the column prior, and then this year I'm budgeting 8,000 because I'm assuming we're gonna be utilizing the facility. So the water bills and the hydro bills will be more as we utilize the facility. And that's just a guesstimate. It could be 10,000. I'm not sure how much hydro and water is gonna be utilized with actually using the facility.
Well, hopefully we get used in the facility, there'll be some rent involved or some
Yeah.
fees involved, which will help offset that too, maybe a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah, hopeful plan.
Who is going to manage that?
Well, they had a committee before, I'm assuming they're still in place, but that's, would be my best guess, there'll be a local committee called the skating committee, I'll say, that will like manage it. I mean, overseen by us, I suppose, for a while, because I mean, that's the way most things are done, right? With any internal committee.
And so in the past, it wasn't the LUD of Kelvin that
No.
ran it, it was a separate.
Separate committee, yeah. They might overlap, but it would be a separate committee by title. I mean, because there's only so many people live in Kelvin, right?
Yeah.
So is the power hooked up there now?
It's all, yeah, the lights are on, heat's on. And I don't know how close to that, but they're very close, I would suspect. I mean, it's been a few weeks since we were in there last night.
And then under tax discount, line 9440, tax
Yeah.
discount short-term loan interest, so it's 3,000. That's prepaying your taxes
Yes.
still? Okay, now, I have misremembered this then. I thought we voted
Not to do that.
not to do that.
Jan, Feb, March is what was voted, so we have a discount 3% in January, 2% in March, 2% February, 1% in March, then it's done.
Yeah.
So Jan, Feb, March, so last year, we were giving discounts in August still, which to me is crazy. So the discount is just those months, that's why it's so much reduced, and then I can actually see in the system what the discount is that we've already given to people. So I think that's pretty close to what it's gonna shake out at.
Okay.
Most people are gonna pay the first 2 or 3 months of the year anyways. And
Yeah.
later on, makes no difference.
Yeah, it's not a small discount rate.
It's not like they're coming to get the discount, they're just coming to pay, so it
Exactly.
doesn't make sense to. It just complicates things as well, because now when we do our tax bill, we'll submit everything in June to the government, to the province, and they'll print them all out for us, but then there'll be no discounts applied now. So what you get is what you're gonna pay if you pay as soon as you get your bill. Or if you pay before the October 31st deadline.
So for the transfers for the general reserve, building reserve, you've got 100,000 under machinery replacement, and then 5,000 for building reserve.
Yeah, I just duplicated what you guys had decided last year, so if you wanna change those, you're more than welcome. And then, because we do have some funds in the gas tax, I'm saying that we're transferring what the government is gonna provide us this year to that fund. So we're gonna transfer 84,747, which is the payment that we were supposed to receive last year. The updated numbers haven't been put on MMO yet, so I don't know what the plan is for this year.
Do we have a plan for the building reserve? Because is 5,000 enough? Like if you want to build a new building and you're looking at spending $1 million, like are we accomplishing that?
If you look on page 13,
13?
in the building these are all the amounts that are currently sitting cash money in the bank in those reserves. So where's the building reserve is sitting at 138,000 right now. I didn't pull what the GL says we're supposed to have, but that's cash money in the bank that we have today.
Sure, just give me 1 second, okay?
Yeah, no
What
worries.
page did you say?
13. It's the capital expenditure.
Thank you. So, okay, I'm finally there.
You're just adding to that then, is the.
Yeah,
that's
you're
all
gonna
right.
add to that, but
Okay.
this will not be accurate because I haven't done any of the movements from last year yet. I'm waiting for the auditor to finish up before those movements to the reserves get made. And the money's not physically moving in the bank because it's gonna then drive us more into our line of credit. So it will move, the money will be there into the GL, the budget audit will verify the funds are available, but I don't wanna be in a LOC situation.
So like, because we don't really have that long-term plan for the building, we've got 138 grand in there. But are we planning to use it for something and we should be towards that goal? Or are we just gonna continue doing small amounts and just decide later?
That would depend on what you guys wanna do on page 14.
And the same thing for the general reserve. Like, what are the restrictions on spending general reserves? Is there any?
Yes, you're supposed to have 20% in your budget, so we couldn't recover our deficit last year from the general because we didn't have enough money. So you're supposed to have that money sitting there, which is 20% of your budget, I believe, is the calculation. It's a complicated calculation, I'd have to pull it through for you. So that money currently we can't use to cover surpluses or cover really anything, because you need those funds in the bank to run the arm in case something catastrophically goes wrong.
Probably in a assessment year, it would be a time to
Increase the
increase it as compared to assessment year. Because top of my head, we're probably looking overall probably 13.5% to 14% increase tax wise for most people. Just because of the assessment value. Because we put our mill rate up by 0.5%, which works out to 3.5% on your taxes. One mill rate is 7% increase on taxes. So if you do 3.5, that's our side, and then their assessment is up quite a bit. So I know some ratepayers have voiced their concerns already.
Oh, I'm sure I have.
Yeah. So next year, if your mill rate went up, we'll say 1.25, you'd be better off then to put some money away. Don't get me wrong, I understand putting some reserve is a good thing, but timing is of the essence, I guess, is what I'm getting at. It's what we can sell to our ratepayers.
Any more questions?
I have one, but I've lost it. Just please give me 30 seconds.
Sure.
Under the capital budget, you got a couple of green highlights in there again. Is that just because it's an estimate, or?
I just got that value this morning.
Oh,
So I was highlighting it so that I knew I needed to put a value in. So prior to this morning, it wasn't in there, but that is an estimate based on the repairs or rehab to the roads that are required.
and then the fire truck for Kelvin, the 180,000. Is that based on what you've got? Like that's a good number, like, or has that changed?
I think it's based on what we can, the grant was gonna help with and what we can match, I guess, that's more, look for something in that price range is kind of the,
Just to maximize the grant?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm not saying that you found something at 150 is okay too, right?
Oh, 100%, yeah, there's always equipment to add, because
Yeah.
I know when we budgeted for the other truck, they needed some other hoses and stuff, so saving a little on the purchase of the truck would help equip the truck a little bit, because it'll come bare, right? It'll just be,
Here's a truck.
yeah, here's a truck.
Maybe
basically.
hoses and
Yeah,
And the one thing,
accessories.
I don't think it's, I'm not gonna phrase it right, but just bear with me, but on the hospital, you're talking about things like in-kind contributions, making our share. Now, on this grant, is there anything that can the RM provide in-kind stuff as our 50% match, or does it have to be cash?
I think it has to be cash. I don't think we can do in kind. There's no, like, I can't write off my wages or the employee's wages or anything like that. There's a bunch of things that are ineligible. I think it's cash money spent. So if we're gonna buy extra hoses or extra apparatus or extra whatever to add to it, I think that's all covered. But staff time and in kind, I do not believe will be covered. And even things like signage, so putting logos on the side of the truck, that will be covered. If we wanted to put signage up for whatever reason at the fire hall, that would be covered. Whatever's associated to the actual project. So the submission, which I had shared with everybody, was our fire trucks are basically too small to carry the amount of folks that we need, so we needed to get something bigger. And we wanted to take less personal vehicles to the actual fire site, so getting a bigger truck will help. And then I think having enough room for supplies, like the guys are pretty big in their suits, so they're not comfortable in the existing truck.
And what happens to the existing truck?
well, I guess personally, I'd like to keep it as a standby to make sure that the new one is, and then figure out what to do with it after that, because it's still functioning, but it's old. So it's gonna, someday it's gonna give out. There's a backup would be a great idea, to be honest.
I guess that you gotta weigh what you can actually get for it, and what it's actually worth us,
Well, no, that's the
and
end,
when the day comes.
because simply as water carrier to the
Yeah,
new purchase truck would be a big help at the end of the day, right?
I think most 1,000 gallons, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually 1,200 gallons of oil truck, so, yeah, so it's lots of water. So I mean,
The new one's only holding like 600 or something.
1,000.
Yeah,
The one we're looking at is 1,000.
Oh.
Yeah, it's old. But that would be my, I guess, wish list, because I mean, it's technically worth nothing as a trade or to sell because of the age of it, but it's still working, so.
I guess could you use it as a secondary water source?
That would
as
be the
well?
hope,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Just hook up to it.
Yeah.
Go.
Especially in grass fire season, in the wintertime, you'd have to find a place to park it, which is gonna be tricky, but you could winterize it and then use it in the summer.
Storage.
Yeah.
And then the landfill closure costs, the $30,000. That there's a, is that an estimate or is that a?
That's an estimate. I think we need to tender that out. So there's gonna need to be clay capping at the Eden landfill and some movement of some of the material that's sitting out there currently today, because it is a transfer station. So we need to actually close it and abide by all the environmental requirements, and then it becomes a transfer station from there on in.
And is that gonna get tendered out this summer?
I would hope so. We intended on doing it last summer, but then we just, with all the volatility that occurred last year, it just didn't happen. So I would like to get it closed up and finished for this year.
And then landfill upgrades Calvin at $90,000.
Yeah.
Same idea, it would be a tender.
Yes. So we're gonna need to build a new cell out there, and I'm not sure if this will be the introductory money, I guess, to try to get us there, which I'm assuming it's not gonna get built this summer, but perhaps next, once we,
Well, if we do
Get
a
into it.
introductory side this year, get the ball rolling, and then next year we can budget accordingly, because we'll have a better understanding
Of what's it cost.
of what the cost will be.
yeah.
Right now, it's just a number in the dartboard, it's only thrown at.
Well, if we know what we have to do, and then
Yeah.
we can tender for what that looks like, and then
Yeah.
see what that looks like.
Oh yeah, and then the office equipment upgrades are for computers. So our computers are between they're all 8 years old, and then the shop computer is 13 years old, I believe. So we can't even upgrade the shop computer for the new programming, because it's too old.
Getting a lot
And then-
whiter on the screen.
Yeah. I'm using my personal laptop because I don't have a laptop. And then I have 2 screens in the office for the girls to use, which are my personal screens. So I would like to upgrade our equipment so we have the appropriate items to do what we need to do. This would also provide off-site access. So currently when I'm here, I have no access to the system, so I can't look anything up, I can't pull any files, I can't do anything. because the only place I can get information is if I'm physically here in the office. So the $10,000 option would allow me to come in from somewhere else with my laptop, so I could actually do work offsite if required.
Does that include upgrading our internet supplier?
No,
Or
but
better system?
we do need to do that, so I did add some extra funds into the MTS utility side for the office expense, because our, I don't know if you guys are familiar with internet speeds, but ours isn't even 10 Mbps's. So I have 150 Mbps at my house to stream, and we have 10 here in the office.
We can upgrade that to a better system without seeing it on the camera, but it's like for half, like the same money or less.
I
have something.
have been informed by Microsoft we can't go with those folks
Oh,
because it doesn't work with jumping into the system and their IT.
oh.
So, but I am with, personally, I have more than 100 at my house, and we have the same service provider, so.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it's $85 a month or something like that for the internet.
Oh, I think that's a good idea, because
It's all the house of the broken hammer.
yeah, exactly.
Does anybody have any other capital projects that they think that they might like to add, or any questions about the CapEx items?
The green highlight on 110 North.
Yes, that's just because I didn't have the value till this morning, so I had it highlighted so I would remember to put the value in.
That's how many feet, Earl?
So just about 2,200 altogether, 2 sites.
Oh, it's a split site there.
Well, yeah, because the center was fixed years and years ago. Ron was maybe an operator back in those days. Yeah, like it was set about 30 years ago, I would think. Because we did a patch to the one site last summer, or last spring, whatever we did. And then that's one site and the other one's slightly longer that we never got to touch.
That's the same road going up.
Goes to our town, our municipal well, I guess I'll call it. It's not
Oh, I
the
see,
town,
yeah,
municipal well. Straight west of the town.
So rest of town.
Has Public Works forwarded anything that they want?
A majority of that list will be in the transportation area under small tools or what have you, or shop supplies. The one item is the lawnmower for the green team. The lawnmower that we currently have, I think we purchased in 2014 for $4,200. So I'm not sure, I haven't pulled any quotes, so I'm just estimating that it'd be about $6,500 maybe for a new lawnmower for the green team.
I think you better go up with that.
Yeah?
That much big time.
Like 95?
Yeah,
I'm thinking close.
I was gonna have 10 in my head.
Yeah.
Because you're talking like another zero turn or something maybe?
Yeah, I would almost mirror the real good one, if you wanna call it.
Because that was 10.
Oh, I didn't look to
10
see
grand,
what we
that was,
had
there's a
purchased
10,
that
there's a
one.
10 grand one.
Because I was
I
10.
never personally talked to him, but they jumped up.
Go ahead, Jim.
I just want to point out that Greenworks has a commercial zero-turn electric lawnmower for $23,000.
Oh, holy.
Oh,
So
that's good.
I would like to politely request that we put an electric zero-turn on this list for $23,000. All in favor?
You missed that $10,000 party,
He just like jumped right over the line.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I seen him going, I didn't know how far he was gonna get.
It's a really nice lawnmower.
That's the truth.
Yeah. But 10 would be probably minimum. Commercial, the only thing that's commercial grade is the deck on it. Now, is it that much more beneficial, I guess, compared to a standard deck?
Because I think we went to a commercial-ish one last time, and it was around that, almost like 10 something, 10.2, I'm gonna guess, on top of my
I'm
head.
putting 12.
Because I kept, we bought that one 2 years ago.
That's what I heard.
It's not that old.
No, this is replacing the other one.
The other one.
We have two.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is replacing the one that was
80-something.
purchased in 2014.
Maybe,
But if we put 12, we got it covered anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, yes, yes.
because we rented the 3 local lawnmower
Yeah.
folks, right, that's, because we're running a Cub Cadet right now, right?
Yeah, they're both covered,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
One's it's a first version of zero turn, which isn't, but it's whatever.
It's a tractor style, right?
It's that, yeah, it
Yeah.
works fine.
I'd like to
But it was much work
put
out there,
down
too,
about
but it's
fixing up that crossing that I was telling you about, the
Yeah.
took the bridge
Is
out.
that right?
And
But
now
it's a
there's-
DFA site.
Is that right?
Well, it's kind of wise, but
I guess.
I'm not sure what the story is on that.
It's used every day.
'Cause we didn't have anything to do with that.
Cut your lawn.
CAO was
Some of
coming
the terrain
after
is not the
that
best.
bridge thing and it got torn out and
Very well put.
Right.
now
I
we
think
got
it's-
these people driving through creek with their semi, because that's the only way they can get to their,
Robert's talking about fixing the crossing that we took the bridge out a couple years back. That's site 10, right?
No,
For
that's
DFA?
site 41, that's
Oh, site
the
41.
jury crossing?
yeah.
Yeah, listen, I've got to talk to
Like, we
DFA.
gotta get that done. These guys been hauling through there with all their grains gotta come through there. And it's not as though they can go around the block.
It was better last year, we did some work on it, it was better, right?
It was better,
Yeah.
but we should be able to make some kind of a decent crossing, and it's,
Is that one of the ones waiting on to be engineered, Dave, or is that a separate thing?
They,
Separate?
how do I put it? They came back with their proposal and then we threw a proposal back at them. We haven't heard back from our proposal yet. And it was basically making it into a low level crossing, just expanding it out and putting riprap on the edges, especially on the
Yeah.
south side, because the way the water comes around, it will erode. So there was riprap involved and everything else. So
I remember they were talking, they wanted big stuff for.
for the riprap,
Yeah.
on the edge, but
Yeah.
the center, it just needs to be sloped back.
Yes, correct.
These a bit more, we'll say 3 to 5 inch rock or something like that, and just slope better and make it low level. So unfortunately, unless they've been busy and I've been busy, so that's on the to-do list whenever we
That's
decide.
This upcoming week, we're
And
gonna
so
figure
we'll
out
do
the
this
DFA.
week.
on any other road, that was been looked at a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault that there's no other access to that.
No,
Yeah.
there's no nothing.
I don't know, well, of course, summertime there's no water there last year, but I thought the crossing was pretty good. Or not bad, not perfect, but not bad.
No,
Yeah.
I guess the question is, do we want to put RM funds toward it, or do we actually want to use DFA funds? Because I can
would
put it in the
like to see
budget.
if we can use DFA
Yeah.
funds.
I guess let's see how we make out with DFA first and then go, because it wouldn't take a lot of money to fix it. Or repair it better.
Is it, we did some work there last year?
I mean, we can do it ourselves.
Yeah, we did
I
some
think
work
the
there last
roads
year.
are gonna do a lot of
Pardon? We did some work there last
I
year.
didn't never.
Well, we
Yeah,
pulled it
rather
back a
than
little
probably
bit, so
some
it
hard
wasn't
ones.
so
So
deep.
it's
So
just straight
through
bricks
there
and
with
then
the rains of rain is not.
But yeah,
Pretty
so-
steep, yeah.
Yeah.
And we also gotta fix a mile south on the same road, north of, Young
Oh,
Jury's,
right,
that
yeah.
wet spot.
I remember that from last year.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but it's gotta be done, and
Is it a tender job?
Yes.
I
And
think so.
what's the length?
Well, we need some rock or fill in there, right? Because it's pretty soft.
yeah, it's a short spot.
Yeah. I would add,
500
Now we
feet?
have the,
I'd add $5,000. Top of my head. 'Cause it's not a big area.
no, cause Braze have no other access in to that, so the yard site was,
Do you know what road number it is?
We road 88.
88. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that important?
Well, I'll need to understand what actually we're doing, so the lengths that we're
They're
doing.
not huge
Are we
projects.
excavating, are we putting geo? What exactly are we going to try to tender? Because I don't want to just put okay, we're gonna fix road 88.
Could that be matched with rocks, or do you need? to-
Yeah, I would say rock would be the way to go because it's a swampy area. So that's just my suggestion. No, just like
Well, there is
three to
rock
five,
there.
3 to 5 inch rock.
That's towards where that old bridge was?
pardon?
Towards where that old bridge used to be?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cause what about that big shale that we used before? Is that too soft for that?
You're probably better off with the riprap. One thing about it is you could do it to put in, we'll say 20 yards, you pack it in. Next year you
Put some
add
more.
some more if you need to
Right,
because
yeah.
some of that stuff is gonna disappear.
Yeah.
It's no different than the big valley, the west side entrance there too. So we put some there last year, they disappeared. So once you eventually keep putting in there, it'll get done and it'll be packed hard enough.
Yeah.
Because that west side, like I say, we've got a beautiful park and then you can't access it.
Great.
Depending on the year, right? It's dry right now.
Yeah, it might not be a problem.
But there's a spring there is what that is, so you just gotta keep once you pack it in, eventually you'll get it.
You want a rip wrap or get around it for Roberts?
I'd be going rip, small pit run, or no, like 3 to 5 inch, I think.
No?
Pit run, I don't know what that would do, it might disappear, would it, Ron?
You-
Depending on the type of pit run.
Well,
Yeah, you get more rock, if you do riprap first, it's,
yeah.
I'm putting 10,000 because nobody's gonna come out there and do a job like that for 5,000.
Yeah, well, if you.
By the time they mobilize and get there.
Figure out the product.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that, our guys could probably push it into the dozer too. It would be a cost share thing if you wanna call it, or, but
Somebody to haul it.
But the material has to be tendered.
Right.
Jeff's got a question.
And my, it's part question, part comment, under capital expenditures. Like, because we have so much money sitting in, we're calling it the gas tax fund on here.
Yeah.
Because we have so much cash. We've had cash forever, and it's lost so much purchasing power. It's being eaten away by inflation. So every year we hold on to that cash, it's worth less. And it's not gonna get much better in the next little while. So I would like to take some of that cash and turn it into an investment into roads, road rehabilitation. And so I would really like to see that we take a significant portion of the gas tax reserve fund and allocate it to road rehabilitation.
So we're using 246,000 this year in gas tax.
Yeah.
So you wanna add more? Or sorry,
I-
256,000.
And I do want to add more. And what I would like to see is on these things, like we have the list of the different projects.
Yeah.
And then it seems to me like some of that stuff is Public Works should be coming up with the actual project plan and a rough costing and then tender it out.
Okay.
And then we can have, like, for example, allocate $200,000 to road rehabilitation with all the, so instead of separately doing it, allocate and then get tenders on them and then see what can we actually do. Because the real tenders might come in so much higher than what we budgeted for. We might not, we'd have to still pick and choose which projects we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So if we allocated a certain amount of money to road rehab, and then ask for tenders on, say, 8 projects, and then pick the ones that we're going to do, that would,
Sure.
that would be my
I just
request.
need the projects to be submitted.
Yeah.
So I have several projects that have been submitted, the asset form was filled out, but on other projects I have no information. So I need to understand what you guys wanna try to fix prior to putting it in the budget. So I brought the computers and I brought the garden tractor. So computers, I'm bringing in the argument that I don't think I should have to bring my personal stuff and we need to upgrade
I
because
agree.
everything is
Definitely.
obsolete. And then the tractor as well, it doesn't work well, it's been band-aided together, it needs to be replaced. So it just makes sense that we replace that. We have one that we replaced a couple years back, it's working well, and then we'll have this one as a backup tractor. So I'm asking from you guys that same information. So if Earl wants to update his road on 110, he's bringing the pricing, he's understanding the length that he wants to fix, he's providing that information, I can write the tender, we can kind of ballpark based on previous tenders, amounts that we've received, and then we can slot it in there. But I don't wanna leave, we have 10 projects that we wanna do, we're gonna tender them all, and then we might, or we might not.
Is that the same road you did?
On the other side of it too, is just, we're getting 85,000, we're spending 250. At some point then you have to leave a little bit of reserve there because you don't know when that big event may happen and you may need some of those funding for that. So I wouldn't want to bleed the piggy dry.
No.
If you want to call it that.
But we could decide on a percentage that we wanna leave in there.
I think maybe, as Melissa said, maybe we should have been talking about that pre-budget. Would have been probably better.
Well, we can still do it, like,
Yeah, we
we
can
have
still do it.
2026,
Okay.
well, we don't have much time, girl.
Well, no, but we have talked, like, we keep saying next year, but.
Well, I think maybe the point I'm trying to make is I've sent the asset forms out to everybody, I haven't got any information back. So I gave them in November, and then nothing came back to me. So I'm just doing the best that I can with the information I've received thus far. And if we wanna put in a different plan, I'm open to that 100%, let's do it. Just to go through the timeline that we have here. So we're sitting at March 25th, yeah, so March 25th is today.
We gotta take that down.
I'll be on holidays March 31st till the April 4th, I believe it is.
Thank
I need to have the bylaw updated before the April 11th meeting, so we can get our first reading done. So we need to understand what we're putting for mill rates, so I can update the bylaw and we can do our first reading April 11th, because we need 3 readings before May 15th. And we can only do 2 in a meeting. So I'm intending on doing first and second, or just first reading in April 11th, and then second reading will be the May 12th meeting.
And you're away next week.
And I'm away next week. And we also need to have a public hearing. So we need to do preparation for the public hearing, and we can't do the public hearing We have to do the public hearing before the third reading. So the public hearing must be done before May 12th, and of course there's notification requirements to let the public know when we're gonna do that. And the budget is due May 15th.
So we ran it.
So we're pretty tight still,
Very tight for time.
With-
Push the pause button.
starting to gather information and put new projects together.
Well, I could help Jeff out, because I could just bump up my next year's project onto this budget if you really want.
I don't think you get one next year.
You be quiet over there.
I know that. Right?
The
You had
longer
more
we
this
keep
year,
it,
yeah.
the less it buys.
No,
Every year we leave that in there, we lose 100 feet of road that we could fix. So, that's so
What was
close.
that statement?
Every year you leave that money in your gas tax fund, we lose 100 feet of road that we can fix, just because of inflation. It gets, every year we eat, that dollar amount goes up, but the purchasing power goes down. And it's a losing race. We're fighting a tide and we're walking the wrong direction.
because we're spending about half of what's there this year, or a little better, right? A little better than half of 500.
Three times.
Well, 3 times. Yeah, so we get $84,000
Oh, I
a
see,
year.
oh, sorry. Yeah.
So last year we spent 150. Sorry, the first year I was here, we did Road 84 North. I think it was $145,000 to fix that boundary.
Yeah.
Then this past year, we did close to 80,000. We built Road 100 and then we did 110, 109. So that's, we basically spent our entire gas fund money, and we haven't got our 2024 funds yet. They haven't sent them yet. And then this year, we're projecting 250. So we have been spending. I don't know what happened previously.
Well, in 21, so in 21, we had 471,000. In 23, we had, it's always in a different order. We had 506,000. 24, we had, where's this one? 508,000. So, like, we went from 4 to 500. Now, what? I think they have 6. What did you say?
586.
586. Like, it's going up, right?
And if we take the 250 out of there, then we're down to three something.
Yeah,
So yeah,
so let's back up
we're
a
more
little
than
bit.
spending it, so
The-
I caution on that one.
This is what's in the bank. In the fund is $1 million. So we're trying to get the bank to say what the fund says. So last year when I got the allocation, not last year, 2023 when I got the allocation, I actually moved it in the bank to where it's supposed to go. Because this is physical money, cash in the bank. What the GL says does not match this. There should be $1 million sitting here, but there is not. There's $1 million sitting in the GL, but it's been utilized to run the municipality without using line of credit. So slowly, I'm trying to put that
Put
back.
it back in there.
So the numbers jive with what's actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the bank matches the actual general ledger account. Which it makes sense to utilize that money so you don't have to spend thousands of dollars in interest fees.
And if you get a major weather event and then washes out some infrastructure, then what? And
So-
you got the piggies dry.
Yeah, but we're still waiting 3 years for DFA on some of the things, right?
Yeah.
Is your computer stuff available to use the tax money too, gas tax money, or no?
I,
Noted.
I believe the fire truck has.
No, 100%. I think, no, maybe used purchase. No, it's a used purchase, not a new
well, we
purchase.
have to be careful because you can only get 50% from the province, doesn't matter what fund. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure, maybe this is Fed money, so maybe we can use it.
Oh.
Because you can't, all provincial grants that you can get, you can't stack provincial grants unless they say you can stack them. So generally, that's not permitted, but I think that you can use federal and provincial money together, so I can look into that if we can use that.
Because I've done some of
Yeah.
that, both will help with our budget and
Yeah.
with using up some of the tax dollars, our gas tax dollars.
And I just, like, the Nippon Area Planning District sitting on their pool of money, us sitting on our pool of money, we're all sitting on money. It's all inflating away. We're not spending it. Alberta's getting angrier and
Nice having
angrier.
it in the bank.
I understand.
That's always
But
nice.
but we
understand
are,
that.
we are spending it. We're gonna spend $256,000 of it this year.
And we can do more road if you want. I won't be
Exactly.
Well, you know,
Well, we need to balance what we can handle.
You know,
Like,
it's
we
like
can't
always
handle
gonna
20
be roads
projects.
that have to be
Oh,
fixed.
yeah, as long as we keep fixing
Regardless of
something.
how much we spend.
yeah. And actually, you know, most of the roads in the are actually.
Pretty good.
They're pretty darn good,
Yeah.
exactly, I agree.
I agree.
You go to other municipalities and they're.
You don't have to go far away.
Oh, I know that.
You don't have to go far away from here.
No, exactly.
And as long as we keep improving some roads as we go, what we can. Yeah. just-
Can we still talk while he's gone?
I do.
Well, depends what you want to talk about.
I want to talk about the campsite upgrades,
Okay,
which looks like a very specific number.
it's a grant.
And that's,
So Kara had submitted.
oh, that's that one.
Yeah. This was in last year's budget, but we didn't get to it. So it's in this year's budget again, so we can spend the grant. And then the community hall as well. So I did review what she had submitted for the campground updates. And she had applied for $25,000 money, so they're gonna give us half of that. Yeah,
And that,
for both of those.
what was that for? Does anybody remember? Is that
It's for like picnic
Porta potties?
tables, fire pits, porta potties, whatever across Kerrs Lake, Big Valley, Kelwood, whatever campgrounds we would like to upgrade. So I did pull some prelim numbers. I talked to Doug Wood to understand what they have in Kelwood. I talked to Cam to understand what we have in Big Valley and Kerrs Lake for fire pits and picnic tables, how many need to be replaced. So I'm just in the process of trying to get a project plan together so we can understand what we're gonna do there. And then I think there's a gentleman in Kelwood that makes picnic tables for a significantly cheaper price than
You mean
what
Har-
you can
Do
purchase.
you mean Harvey Boxall?
Yes, yes, that's what I mean. So I haven't reached out to him yet to understand what he would be willing to sell us picnic tables for, but I think if you purchase, I did a little looking around online, and purchasing them online is between $600 to $1,000 each.
Oh,
So depending on what you want to purchase.
maybe we could build a picnic table.
And then I think you can even just buy parts online if you want to assemble them yourself, but it's still quite pricey. So that's what those projects are, both grants. Last year we did the Kelwood Hall roof. It was also a grant, so that one is complete. I just need to submit the paperwork. The issue that we run into with the BCS, the Building Sustainable Community Grants, is we need 10% non-municipal funds to contribute to it. So we put in 50% and they put in 50%, but the 50% that we put in is supposed to be non-government, non-municipal funds like fundraising and such, where the RM doesn't have a lot of fundraising dollars. So generally we don't get the entirety of the grant because of that. I think the province is removing that clause for RMs because it's hard for the government to be fundraising.
Pretty hard to sell raffle tickets.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure if it's out of the newest grants. We haven't got any BCS grants.
So could I add to that road with like road, no data, the one for widening and stuff? I have one spot too that we looked at years ago, remember?
Oh,
On
yeah.
95?
Yes, that little slough hole there.
And that's the whole,
95 West?
yeah, it's not changed, it's not getting any better.
Okay.
It's probably 300 feet, maybe long. One slope, same thing. Needs just some film brought in.
10 grand fix
10
it?
grand?
Oh, yeah, that'd be plenty, I think, but we'll say 10 grand.
Okay. And then I'll just get the north roads from you afterwards.
Okay.
The current situation that we're in, we don't want to be under budgeting. We don't want to be in a deficit situation again. So if we think it's going to be 8,500,
Right, make sure it's 10.
yeah.
Because it's
Just
always
to cover
more,
us.
it's never less.
No, it's never less.
And maybe it's the same thing too, we put these figures out there and we'll use, the figure you brought in, Earl. If we tender it, and if all of a sudden the tender's higher, maybe we need to cut it back.
Yeah.
The footage, right?
Well,
Or do it in two sections.
Well, I do mine in two sections. That
So
is,
you do one section
Right.
and do the next section next year.
I agree. No, I understand, because
Stages, yeah.
Yeah.
and it works out for me, it is in two sections, it obvious, like an obvious two sections, it's not like you're going part way.
Yeah.
It's two different, so yes, it could work out. And I'm a little over, because the money is actually 86, and I went up to
Maybe.
14 just because.
Maybe.
Well, assuming in last year's pricing, that's what I used was,
Yeah.
but I mean, it could go up, and the gravel could get cheaper, and if the gravel come from closer to Kelwood,
Yeah.
it would be
Mm.
the tenderer.
Yeah.
If the gravel come closer, it might be cheaper, because the trucking is a.
But it gives us options.
Yeah, that's what we
get. Other than that, I'm good with what's been presented. You okay with it, Herb? Or you like it?
Yeah, no, I feel that.
I like my new fire truck, big things.
Nothing yet.
I'm taking it home too, by the way.
It's all yours.
Your grandson is gonna be crying.
All yours. He's got a bigger one.
Tell you the truth, guys, I mean, I'm just looking around, talking to the other RMs and all that. I mean, everybody's in the same boat. And these numbers are not bad compared to numbers I've seen and heard, so.
I agree.
Well, it was.
And it's something we can sell to the ratepayer.
No, for sure, we're doing some improvement, so
Yeah,
we're still
yeah.
staying within a bit of a thing, right?
Mind you, that will be changed now.
Yeah, we'll change this, so it'll go up a little bit.
Yeah, it's
And I
not
can
very,
already send it out to you guys.
yeah,
Mhm.
But very
but it's very
small amount.
Yeah.
32,000.
Yeah,
Well, minus the 65, so yeah.
yeah.
0.1 mil or something.
I think a mill's like 104
So it is.
is in generated revenue. So, yeah, because if you look at the deficit, it's 139, I believe, and the mill rate's 0.996. So it's
96.
almost one.
Normal one, yeah.
Just feel that to Scott.
Yeah. I guess we should probably figure out, like, to Jeff's point, what we wanna do moving forward for gravel road projects, because that should be part of the CapEx budget. If we're just gonna put $100,000 in every year, if we wanna put $200,000 in every year to try to upgrade those items. And then, last year I had only put $5,000 for office equipment, but the quote came in at 10,000, so that's to self that I need to put additional funds in. And then we had put that we're gonna get 220,000 in machinery, which I think last year I was thinking this was reserve, but I think this CapEx budget is what we're actually gonna be purchasing in those years. So we should probably figure out when we're gonna purchase the next grader, so say 2029. That's gonna be probably $850,000 by that time, and then have the funds available in a reserve to match that. Because I think that's what this page 14 is actually for, is to try to Jeff's point, get that plan in place, moving year after year after year, and then pulling these numbers into the budget in the existing year.
Mhm.
So building upgrades and additions, we have $50,000 we were gonna spend in 2025, but we have no building projects or additions planned. So if we have one, so say we're gonna update the shop, for example, figuring out how much that's gonna cost, what year we're gonna do it, and then dump it into that budget year when that year comes. Or if we're gonna build a new office or what have you.
Yeah, there you go. Well, something else we did, I looked on an old budget sheet we had talked about before, was with our wells, our community wells, the money
Yes.
issue. We talked about upgrading them to a key fob system that way there'd be no money to steal and no reason to break in. And we talked about that, it never happened. I think the budget at that time was 32 or 36,000 for 6 wells. I think that would be slightly more now because of everything goes up, but I still think that's a great idea, because I mean, it's happening, right? And it's gonna happen with the key fob, it was, I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
that's a lot of money. You're spending $50,000 to save 1,000.
No, but as, I know you're right in a sense, but I mean, I
Yeah,
think we're
that's the
gonna,
way we looked at it then.
Yeah.
but we're improving a system too, it's no money to handle, and it's,
So I need to do a project on the wells, because we don't make any money on the wells. The
No.
wells cost us more money to run than we make, so we need to go into the programming and understand how to program them. So first of all the wells are dispensing at the same amount,
Right.
because they're all over the place, right? And then figuring out how much hydro is being utilized by those wells, for example, and then getting maybe some sort of asset management plan in place for each. So Elk Ranch, for example, wasn't working, so we're running in to fix it, update the switch, do what have you. But just having that money available when the wells do go awry, and then making money actually instead of losing money. Not, even just breaking even would be, I would
Yeah,
just break even.
because I don't think that rate has changed in forever, and I mean, I know home, our water is going outside the municipality, I'll say, which is fine. I mean, we need to charge for what it's worth, because they're coming to us for a reason. I mean,
Yes.
our water is
absolutely.
cheaper than wherever, it's,
I haven't had an opportunity to do that cost analysis yet, but when I was going through budget this year, because last year I didn't really understand, I had just started. It's trying to pull all this thing together and I didn't really understand where all the numbers were coming from and how all the inputs worked. This year I understand much better. Next year I'll understand even better. So I would like to pull more information together for you guys, similar to the training spreadsheet that I have. So the training spreadsheet is separated now because all of those values go in different GLs. So registration cost goes one place, mileage goes one place, lunches goes one place. So estimating all of that for the training year for everybody, for you guys, for our guys, for Public Works is interesting. And then adding them all together to make sure that they actually match what we're thinking we're gonna send people to. So I'd like to do that as well for the wells or for whatever topic, just break it out so I understand clearly every single bucket and what goes in there and how the costs are being accumulated.
I think that's a good idea, because I mean, water is water, but we're giving it away, there's a cost.
Absolutely.
If one of the pumps in the bottom of the well ever give out, it'd be scary, right?
I know, I gotta go right away. But that's okay, Robert, you can close the meeting. If you guys aren't done. I do apologize after going over the seat, so.
I have one request. And I didn't bother before, but there's programs out there for deep energy retrofits for buildings. So I'm applying for funding for one for the Franklin Community Hall, Memorial Hall, because the utility costs are pretty high up there. And because they are owns a bunch of buildings. So Efficiency Manitoba and the feds have money available to do deep energy retrofits because ongoing utility costs are breaking a lot of small organizations. But the applications aren't simple. And it's easier, like for example, the one, like I'm having to teach myself how to use the one batch of software because I can find lots of consultants that will fill out the software for me for about $15,000. But at that point, you may as well just instantly build it yourself, right? So I'm teaching myself how to do it, but there's 6 buildings, or 5 buildings, I guess. And I would like to allocate 10 grand to figuring out how to do deep energy retrofits and applying for those grants for all the community-owned buildings, including the shop.
So hiring a consulting firm to do that?
Maybe, or
I would suggest that, yes, would definitely. And the reason why I say that, because even on the DFA thing, talking to other municipalities, there's a consulting firm go in the future if that ever happens again, they just get a consulting firm to do it, and then RCA doesn't have to do it. It's way better to do it. And it's also recoverable cost. He doesn't come out of use because it goes right against DFA. So going forward, it's news for whoever's on council in the future, that the DFA comes up, I would highly recommend doing that. Just a suggestion, so. Well, I still remember.
Yeah.
now this specific one, similar to that, is it's an organization.
Have a good night, guys.
Yes, you too.
It's a website in here.
The organization is called, one of the organizations is called EcoWest.
Okay.
And they are a strange hybrid of private consultant that works for free for people, but there's a back channel funding. I have no idea who's friends with who, but somehow they've managed to make it work on a provincial level, and EcoWest is the best starting point. They were at the trade shows last 2, and they're it's a service similar to what Dave just mentioned. Like you get somebody to do it, then it's done efficiently.
One grant could cover them all, essentially,
That's
one
what
application.
And it would be a case where the deep energy retrofit would be economic activity in the local RM. And then it would be lower utility costs for the municipality. And then the building gets a new lease on life.
I know that the Eden Rink applied for one of those grants and they were successful. I think they got LED lights and such.
And
Their committee applied.
and the one that we're applying for is geothermal.
This county court also applied for one a couple years back for energy savings at county court? I'm sure, because I submitted some, they were in contact with me, but then I got them in contact with Karen to submit her receipts.
Okay.
And it's,
Trying to find if there's,
that
if it's a
complicated
CapEx
system, yeah, I guess
for
somebody else will figure it out.
consultant. I don't think so. I think I need to dump it in here somewhere
oh, okay.
for consulting fees.
Why do they make that so tough, right? Why, if they wanna help, why don't you think they can just help?
They make it tough for a reason.
I guess, but it just,
Yeah, it weeds a lot of people out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
no, well, for sure it does, cause it's.
It's technically there.
Yes, technically, that's right.
And that's a good way of putting it, Jeff, because there's technically a lot of funding money out there, if you can get it.
Well, they promised
They
it, right?
promise it, but
Yeah.
it's a matter of how you get
You
it.
know, figure it out, and then it's, what time you figure out the language to use,
Yeah.
it's all gone.
That's
Okay,
just the way
that's
they
good.
put it.
I'll find the bucket that I need to put it, because I'm sure there's a place for it.
Because it seems to me that this would be a thing where the RM could coordinate it, but it would consume days, months of your time, and I just don't see that it would be possible.
Well, the DFA bridge application was, I submitted 3 claims, I think, in December for 3 separate timeframes of receipts that were received. And it's very time consuming. Putting all the numbers and summarizing everything and pulling all the receipts and, oh,
Trying to get her to stop talking.
But if I
That's all
want
I
to
gotta
do
do.
He's got willpower.
it's fast.
Well,
Once you
I'm
get,
gonna let-
once you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
And that's the
doing it
problem.
again is easier. Okay, so I'll make the adjustments and then I'll send it out to y'all so you can take a look.
Perfect. Now I'll make the request one more time.
Mhm.
I still think that we should take, for doing the
Oh.
community grants,
We should probably put the signs in here, the road marker signs, because I'm assuming it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Like to replace the ones that are missing here, or the faded
Yeah.
ones?
The faded ones,
Like,
like
For signs of
15,000.
102 and.
Oh, yeah.
Because on the fading, you can't see them.
Sorry, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, 'cause that's.
So what'd you have for?
like 15,000 would be a fair number, I would think.
I was going
That's
that
about
way.
half of what it costs to put them up initially.
I think they were,
Just
I think it was
those signs,
30-some
just those signs, or
Go through the municipality.
or all signs?
Yeah.
I think we were just talking about the road number
Oh,
size.
the road signs, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think the road markers we got from Provost were $30 a piece for the 5-digit
That's not
number.
bad. That's not bad.
But I think they are cheaper from the other sign company. I was searching through some previous invoices from 2022,
Okay.
and the other signage company is using the canoe program with the municipality,
Oh,
with AMM, sorry. So I could get a quote from them to understand, but I think probably 15,000. Well, we could even do it 2 years. We could do
Yeah.
a couple words this year and then a couple words next year, because I think we'll need signage and brackets.
Yeah.
Right. yeah.
I would highly recommend, especially on number 5 highway,
That's,
goes get
yeah,
that
another
first.
5,
Because I was approached by a first responder person as well, saying that they had a hard time reading the signs.
Yeah.
And it was off the highway that was the issue, more so than anything else.
Yeah.
So, and don't get me wrong, there's other ones out there, I know that.
And if you
Target
want-
that area first.
We have examples in the office if you want to take a look at the sign ones, because we have some that say road whatever, and then some that just say 80 north
Oh,
or,
yeah.
or what have you.
What's there is good, I like, if you can see it.
Yeah.
It's got the number and the letter behind, right? Like
Yeah.
111 North, for example.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
that's
So
what-
it's on both sides of that,
Yeah.
you see it?
Yes, because it's always this ones facing south that are impossible to read. If you
Yeah.
decide to read it around,
Yeah.
you're fine, but then.
Currently, they're only on one side.
But they're only one side.
Oh,
That's
recommended.
That's it, yeah.
Okay,
That's what, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then, no,
recommended side.
Sorry.
no, it's okay.
Oh, because then if you're going the.
But you have one
It's
both
like,
sides.
if you're driving an ambulance
I
going
don't think
one
so.
direction,
Yeah.
whether you'd see
One
that.
guy-
I've seen other ones
Also,
over there on
This is
one
one
One of the
side.
hypotheticals,
But yeah,
you're
no,
in an ambulance going north on number 5 and you're meeting oncoming traffic with bright LED lights. You cannot see anything. You have to be looking to this side.
Right.
And we don't have signs on this side.
No, that's a good point, actually, 'cause that's true. We don't think about that till it's there. Too late.
And on the gravel roads, you can slow down, point your headlights, block traffic that's 8 miles behind you. But on Highway 5, you're not doing that, right? You're not slowing to a complete stop at every crossing.
Yeah, I think that's
So if
it.
you're doing 25 miles, Easy math.
Yeah.
So
And then the brackets
and then
and the poles.
poles, yeah, so yeah. So
And then-
times 3.
And then the labor.
And then tender note.
Yeah.
Because if you tender a note to somebody, then you can use your gas tax funds.
Then I think we should put $45,000, because there's no way,
Yeah.
like, this is just supply cost, 15,000, Public Works is gonna do the work.
Okay.
Is Public Works gonna do the work, or do we want to tender?
I would let the public works do the work.
And we'll just do it
And
as,
a good feeling to do it with your rainy day.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
raining, we
exactly.
can go do
Muddy
it.
days.
Or let's pick the signs that are the worst to start with.
And Green Team needs something.
There's not many.
Ooh, yeah.
They're
That was a bad word.
Hey,
on wheel.
It cost me a little bit, but
Not that wide.
well, they're just right.
Yeah.
Burning grass.
And I just
Yeah,
take
we're
for granted
grass,
the
right?
signs there, so I just.
On the other hand, you come from here, you know the roads.
True.
Where you get a new ambulance driver, our
Fire.
I know the road workers, so like the,
Fire guys into a different area, that,
Yeah.
get that.
Don't forget the Loctite on the sensors.
oh, yes. $6 plus.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you guys can think of?
And yes, there was, but we got distracted in it. Can you give me 30 seconds to try to remember?
Yes.
Because there was something.
Tick,
I know.
Where's that, where's that?
Yeah.
You should eat a donut.
We should need it on it. That'll take 30 seconds or so.
30-second donut.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It was 22 seconds, you got 8 more to go.
Pretty fast, sir, Robert.
A financial contribution to the library of some sort. I don't know if we should budget for having a contribution so that our Rosedale ratepayers and residents can have a library card.
Okay. Do you want to speak to the library situation, Robert, and how much that's gonna cost CRM?
Yeah, it's gonna cost you a ton. We did the whole scenario on this about 10 years ago. One of the other rate colonists wanted that card. And it was an awful lot cheaper for them to go out and buy 3 or 4 memberships than it was to put it on their taxes. It comes to a lot of money. And if you're gonna give the Neepawa Library a grant or whatever you want to call it, you have to do the same in the Prairie Library, because a lot of the folks from the north, part of our municipality, deal with McCurry.
Okay.
So we offered to give the town, this is 10 or more years ago, a grant. Unless we paid the whole thing, and it was, I can't remember the number.
I think 15,000 is what we
Yeah.
had spoke of previously.
I think that's close. They didn't want 5 or 10 for the people that live close to this end. You either pay the whole 9 yards, or you don't pay nothing.
I can reach out to the library, see how much it costs, so we can get hard, fast numbers, and then council
Well,
can
it's
decide.
$80, isn't it?
Well, 1524 is what we have for current census population for 2021. So if it's 15,000 for 1,500 people, that's
$100.
crazy.
Wow. So that's per membership?
How much is a membership for them to purchase on their own?
That's what I thought, was $80.
Okay.
But I might be
And
wrong.
then only
But
1/3
we looked into this.
small percentage
Quite
of
in
the
depth.
population only want.
No problem.
Or utilize.
Yeah,
Don't
we
cost
use it,
where you
exactly.
wanted it.
Yeah.
Okay.
People. I mean,
I
if this
just
didn't
call them.
play out, it's better to cut a check for some, I don't know, 1 membership or 4, or depends how many, than it is to put it up, if you're a landowner, than it is to put it on your taxes.
There would be a pushback on that one.
And it's no different than a lot of other things. If that's your enjoyment and entertainment, maybe you should pay for your own. I don't, your neighbor maybe shouldn't have to pay for your.
Library?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
'Cause I was asked that question before too, and I didn't know.
And then the next one was, are we gonna put reserve funds away for, starting now, for a new rec center? Or
For what?
a new rec center
Where's the new rec center?
in the town anymore, to replace the yellowhead?
That's,
So what's gonna happen to, facilities that are in the rural municipalities around?
That's the big,
that's the kicker
big
right there.
question.
I think they'll actually grow because they're already having a hard time getting ice time ready.
Well,
There's not enough ice time in any block to satisfy
No.
the surrounding.
So I think your smaller communities eventually should benefit from it. Should get more ice, renting out more ice time, eating,
Well, then-
if there's something in Kelly comes along, then great, so.
well, the newer the
There's
structures get, the more
possibility, right?
costs do to go, right, to use it, the newer structures, but it's,
Yeah,
but that was something that was asked, right? We were, Jeff sits on that board, so that,
So it's just because we're doing the budget process now, it's like, you don't have to commit to money, but you can start committing to a reserve fund, which is still paid by the ratepayers, but it isn't spent, and it could be reversed. So that's a genuine question, is should we be allocating money starting this year? Or should we just put this one off and until there's actually something concrete?
I think we should make a spot on the budget for it and leave it empty for now with that green highlight on
Yeah,
there.
there you go.
well, that's a good idea.
No, because it should be on the budget, because going forward, just so we know, a reminder, nothing else, right? Because
This
it's
could
coming.
be 10 years in the making, right?
Yeah, because they're still in the kicking the ground stage yet, as far as that goes.
But- And if we, let's just hypothetical, right? Our share turns out to be 100 grand. If you start now, it's 10 grand a year for 10 years, and you got it.
Yeah.
But then my own argument works against me, which is putting cash in and hoarding it and watching it get inflated away. So that's there's no right answer.
No.
So,
It's like an RSP fund, you may never use it.
well, that's the thing, right?
Maybe at next municipal election time, that could be a question on, are you willing to take on sponsoring? I think the ratepayers should be asked,
Yeah.
Making it more of a referendum.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe.
And I think they're the ones that are paying the taxes, they should have some skin in the game.
Well, especially because we have so many community centers that are run by community clubs.
Yeah.
And they're fully taken care of, and we're just supporting with hydro and water, basically.
I think we gotta ask the ratepayers.
Yeah, I agree.
And then my last question, I
Yeah.
promise, is every year I talk about the VLT funds, and you keep telling me it's not actually VLT funds. So is it in here?
It's
What we're
munis-
allocating to give to small groups on request?
So when I looked back, VLT funds have not been allocated since 2019. What was happening is the municipal grant that we received, so that $205,000 was being placed in a VLT fund. I do have 50,000 budgeted for you guys to give to people, which was the same that was budgeted last year. I think we only,
What page is that on? I missed it.
I have to find it
Okay.
myself. I think we only gave away 26,000 and some change last year, so you guys did really good. I'm proud of you.
And I think we have to continue that. I'd also like to make a comment, I don't think it should exceed 2,000 at one point in time to any group. Put a cap on it.
Oh, per donation or
Per
whatever.
donation, per site, so if it's
That's just the Kettle
Mountain Road Hall, it's $2 grand, if it's Eden Hall, it should be $2 grand.
Break's exception.
1,500, yes.
Oh, there's too many numbers, Jeff. Too many numbers.
Because I have two comments based on that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you finish reading first.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I still contend that we should follow what you told us to a year ago, which is have an application process with contact people, and everybody applies, kind of similar to the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation, similar to the town people. Everybody applies at a certain time. Here's your deadline. Here's your project report. Instead of doing it in ad hoc, we're not really sure that we're getting the best allocation of funds. We're just getting whatever happens, right? And there's lots of benefits to flexibility, but I want to see us have a cutoff date and an actual application process, and not a hard one. And then the second part of that is, if we're going to do 50,000, I would like to see 25,000 give to the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation to allocate to Rosedale and let them handle it so that it's one step removed from the politics and also part of their process.
So the way the Beautiful Plains grant works, people from the RM apply to it. They either get approved or they don't get approved by Beautiful Plains. Beautiful Plains gives us the money. We give it to the people. So I think it's kind of, we're going to give the money to them, they're going to give it back to us, and then we're going to give it to the people.
No, because that's not quite true. It's only if the organization applying needs a sponsoring agency. Because right now
We're the sponsoring
you're the
agency,
sponsor,
yeah.
but you're not the sponsor for all.
No, just
You're the sponsor
just
for the ones.
ours.
Yeah, and right now, like for example, a community hall that's owned by the RM, if the group that's running it becomes a registered charity, they can apply on their own and
Yes.
bypass that.
Yes.
And there's quite a few of those that are happening.
Is there a member from this council that sits on that board?
I don't think so.
I used to a long time ago.
I do think we need to streamline it, but how to streamline it is.
Yeah.
And I think we should just copy what Rain told us they let one of those other meetings, just copy what town meeting does. If we're not gonna let Beautiful Plains take it over, which I don't have a hard feeling about, but just, here's a one-page application. Who are you? What are you doing? What's your project report? That was,
And also give us your financial details too.
yeah. Contact people, financial.
So
But simple, because you don't want to be, we just said about, it's so hard to apply that nobody does. Because you want to get the money out working, but you don't want to have, so you don't want to be a barrier to entry, but you want accountability.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you guys want me to create basically a grant application form? That sounds kind of complicated. I'm gonna try to steal somebody.
I would just steal
from somebody.
Naples
Yeah.
and just white out Maple and put it in Rosedale.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I would not recreate the wheel. Or if you go to the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation website,
Yeah.
they have a fillable PDF. It's a one-page fillable PDF. It's so simple. It takes very little time to actually apply and do your project report.
And then when, I don't want the due date to be March 31st, because Jan, Feb, March in the RM is a complete nightmare. I would prefer to have it end of year, so December 31st, hand your paperwork in, we have time then to figure it out and put it in the budget and all that sort of stuff.
August or something, October or something, end of, who that's, I mean, yeah.
Something that's not,
Agreed.
October is crazy for us,
Crazy, that's not
because we're
gonna happen.
taking in
Oh.
$2 million in taxes, so don't want it in that month,
Like you said, end of the year meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
The town depot has December 31st.
Yeah, they do March 31st.
No, the town depot does December 31st.
Oh, they do December 31st.
Community Foundation does March 31st.
Ah,
So if you put your deadline of December 31st, well, that'll be for the following year.
That following year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then we would know our budgetary numbers
Yeah.
coming in. And then I'm not sure if you guys would want, because things come up, right? People have.
So you need a
Well,
slush
then,
fund.
the little slush, that's
If
what
you
I
want
always,
a little bit of a
yeah.
slush.
For the big items, I think, that was, you always get that little, like say, a ball team, for example, looking for uniforms or something that's just,
Okay, I'll look into that, see what I can steal, you know, bribe.
I'll send you a
That
copy.
would put that on the priority list.
Steal with bribe.
But it is 50 grand.
It is 50 if I could find the number.
But if we only did 26 last year, then we did a pat each other on the back or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys
Robert,
only did 26 last
That's
year.
great.
Well, we did
That-
try this a few years ago. Got
with the application thing, but it was
Yeah.
too complicated, it was too
Yeah,
much,
They did, yeah.
because you want it simple, like, simple issue, you can do that.
Each of us gets approached by people,
Oh, yeah.
different organizations.
Well, we're all on different organizations too, not ours personally, so it's kind of a,
Right. That's the hard end of the office would be able to look after.
Oh,
Well, just adds on the administration side of it too.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody in administration office sitting there doing their fingers and doing their nails and hair when I come in.
I'm not saying nothing, she's sitting right here.
oh yeah. It's on page 3, sorry.
Page 3?
It's under grants general, so 50,000 was allocated last year, 26,950 is what was submitted to folks. And then 50,000 is budgeted again for this year.
Perfect.
So you kind of, I kind of see it as a double-edged sword. We have the folks that generally apply majority of the years, year after year, they're just from the RM of Rosedale. If we open it up, I'm assuming we'll get more folks, so then you guys will have to determine who you want to approve, who you don't want to approve, up to whatever amount. Because I'm assuming organizations outside of the RM will be asking. Where currently today, there's not that much.
Well,
But we wouldn't give to outside of the
no,
RM.
that's, we've talked about that lots here, like state, to try to keep it inside the, at least.
Yeah.
It's hard to say no sometimes.
No.
No, not for you, Dave. Old Scrooge.
Reply to the fire truck.
I apologize. Why is there an unallocated employee benefits of 8,000?
the employee switchover, this benefits, which is our health benefits, so our employee health benefits, we have dental and health, should have been going into this GL, and it was going into another one. So I made adjustments to the other GLs to allocate it to the proper GL, so we can start putting it in the right place. I think just the change from Colleen to Loveland to Allison to Catherine to, we just kept doing what was being done, not realizing that it should have been getting allocated to a different place. So we updated that, actually Catherine and I said yesterday, there was a few GLs that needed to be updated for the employee benefit wage side. The foreman, his information wasn't going where it was supposed to go, and this information wasn't going to the proper GL. And then I also moved council mileage to a different GL as well, because it was under the transportation bucket, under rom-com, which I would assume that's because when Robert was being foreman, his mileage was going to the transportation, but now mileage is going to legislative type activities such as this meeting, or if you guys are going to conference or whatever. So I took it out of that bucket and then reduced it was road com, I think, actually.
Makes sense for the commission.
Road commission. Yeah, I'm trying to move things where they make more sense to be allocated.
That'll make more sense to you or to us?
Well, to both. Like if it's a legislative expense, I think it should go under
No, for sure.
legislative, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You guys knock it off.
That was breakfast. I shouldn't eat donuts for an old Robert. Trying to cut back.
He knows who to
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, because some things
I'm
don't
gonna
make
eat
sense.
prawns.
Yeah, you think like, I've been eating enough.
Yeah,
I'm good.
it is what it is.
Okay.
I'll update all the additions and then I'll send it out to you guys so you can see what the difference is. And then if you want 2024's end together, I can send those too if you guys want to take a look at mill rates or whatever. Generally, all the information will be in the last year budgeted column for you to see what last year was budgeted, last year actually was spent. And keep in mind, these last year actuals are prior to any auditor adjustments, which those will be coming, I'm hoping, before the end of the month, because then I can update the actual when we move everything around. Some of the movements I did manually because they were just put in the wrong spot when we received the payment, so then I just did the calculation manually and updated it properly, because I'll be moving them. I already know I'd be moving them. I have about 15 that I need to move around. So this won't be 100% last year actual, but it'll be pretty darn close. So yeah, we'll see what the auditor says, if we have surplus, or I'm pretty sure we're not in deficit. I think we're pretty even.
Right
I think we did good last year.
Good job. Your Highness?
I'm assuming you guys are ready.
Yeah.
I have a motion here that we now adjourn this special meeting at 11:50 to meet again at our regular meeting, April 11th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Could I have a mover, please? I'll move it. Thank you, Jeff.
You looked right at you, Robert, so yeah.
Well, he did that, it's like an auction sale, he did that week like he was gonna bid.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll
second it.
All in favor?
Yeah, look right at you.
There he did.